What up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Electrify. It is part 7 of our series where we are looking at residential wiring and we're giving our commentary. So if you haven't seen part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and part 6, you need to go back and see it. But as always, here we are early on a Sunday morning live. And with me, as always, my co-host and my cohort in crime for Electrify, our special guest expert on the residential wiring series, because again, it is the Basement King, all the way from Colorado. Jay, welcome, as always.
What up, everybody? Thanks for having me on this great series that we're knocking out. But I tell you what, it gets earlier and earlier, though. Probably because I stayed up late and played some Call of Duty. But anywho.
Well, it is early. We do have our coffee. And hopefully everybody out there is having a glorious Sunday. So we're going to continue on, Jay, in this series. And it looks like at this point, our electrician is going to be doing the master bedroom. And he's going to be doing, I believe, the master bath, and he's going to be working in the, doing the smoke alarms, or at least something to do with that. At least that's what it's stated on it. So again, we should always remind everybody again that if you want to learn more about our Fast Tracks program, you see it scrolling right here. A bunch of different new programs now, the way they're structured. Check them out if you really want to learn the NEC. Of course, the address is right there on the screen, fasttracksystem.com or electricalcodeacademy.net, whatever, take you where you need to be. So make sure you check that out. And also make sure you check us out on Thursday nights for Electrify. Okay, it's the most electrifying show out there for electricians. So make sure you give it a look. All right, so let's go on and get in to our commentary so we can get that knocked out today. So we're going in and switch into our commentary. All right, so here's our electrician. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's eyeing the camera. And so, as always, we have our headphones. We're going to be listening. We'll be commenting on it as well. And so let me go on and get this all on. And we will be able to give our commentary where necessary. Remember, we're up to part 7 now. So there's 6 parts ahead of this. And so here we go. Got the headphones on. All right, we ready, Jay?
Yeah, I'm about as ready as that guy looks.
He does, doesn't he? He's like, I'm ready today. He says he looks beat, doesn't he? I mean, at this point in his 7 parts, he's like, yeah. Did I really want to do this? You know, did I really want to do 7 parts of this, or 8 parts, or 9 parts? He's like, okay, well, I'm teaching the world. That's what he's doing. So, exactly. The interesting thing about his channel is that he hasn't produced a video in over a year. So that is very common for people when they start up or stream and podcasts. And I've been doing this for quite a while, but a lot of times when people start, they're really gung-ho, and then all of a sudden about, a certain length of time in their life either gets in the way or whatever happens. And, he's just like, done. You know what I'm saying? So, so you never know. He could be out of business. COVID could have hit him hard, right? Could have hit him hard. So we never know. But we're going to use him, and we're going to use other people out there on the internet for future commentaries, because you know what? These are fun. I enjoy doing these. These are always nice when somebody else is doing the work and you just get to opine about it. It's always nice. Okay. So let's go on and get him started here.
What's up, man? Got like 10,000 views and you can't subscribe one time.
Hey,
no like.
I'm subscribed.
No nice comment. Can't say that my hat looks cool and shit. It's fucked up.
All right. Watch the mouth.
You can make it up right now.
Hey, I'm subscribed. Are you subscribed? You haven't done anything in a year, bro. I'm just saying.
Dork.
Alright. This is gonna because you can't see the home run, but if you remember from the home run video that we pulled the home run to the first smoke detector that we came to.
Smoke alarm.
And we'll get to that at towards the end of this video, because I want to pull the 14.2 before I pull the 14.3. So I'm just going to come with my smoke detector, which is right here. So with a smoke detector, they want it within 2 foot of the peak of the roof. But with the company that I work with, they always want it in the peak of the roof. I would have put it right there near the front of the door, but we're going to start right here anyways.
All right, so the answer question, it was in there, Jay. They said he's probably out of business. So he obviously works for somebody. Okay. So he's working for somebody. Incidentally, with smoke alarms, people ask about those all the time. When you get a smoke alarm, you'll get a pamphlet that comes with it. And it's based on NFPA 72's rules, but generally we follow the International Residential Code, IRC rules, if that's adopted in your area. And it'll give direction on it. It'll tell you how far in the peak and where you can put it. You don't want to put it in corners because of the way smoke comes up. It will barrel, if you will, as it comes up, and it kind of leaves that corner where it doesn't get any smoke. The way it just comes up the wall and in the way the convection is of it or whatever. So there is important to put these in right. I mean, these things do save lives because they're early warning. They let you know you get out of the building, right? You get out of the house. With that said, I'll always tell people, and we take this for granted, but have a plan. If you have a 2-story building or whatnot, your house is 2 stories or whatever, and there's in the fire. I know we get complacent. We don't think about these things, but you have to think about, how do I get out of this building? Jay, how are you going to get your kids out if something were smoking? How are you going to get Julissa out? How are you going to get the baby out? How are you going to get your son out? How are y'all going to get out? Is there a plan? I know we think I'm just heading for the door. But what if your path to the door is part of the fire? How would you get out? Those type of things. Now, me, I can tell you, I already know my plan. Up in my bedroom, outside, I can get out onto the overhang, onto the porch, which is also why that's the only window on the 2nd floor that has my alarm on it, because somebody could get on that porch, but we could get out there. But every other window in my house has an alarm on it. So other than that one, I mean, well, that one does, but none of the other ones on the 2nd floor. So, but that's our plan to get out there. So, I mean, you know, I'm also a big person about not an escape room in a house, but a place where you go if you ever have an invader. Of course, my house is the last house you want to break into with the number of guns that I have around and the proficiency I am with them. Hey, I'm no Wyatt Earp or anything, but I'm just saying, last one you want to break into, because again, I'm a believer that it's better off to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. So if you break in, you're not walking out, just so you know. Okay. And if you turn your back to me and you're leaving after you break in, I will say, hey, you turn around, then I'll pop you. So I'm just saying, you come in and you're not supposed to be there, you're getting carried out. I'm just saying, but always have a plan, right? Always have a plan. And how to do that and how you're going to get out if you have a 2-story home or something like that and whatnot. Also the same if you have a home that's in the basement, it has a basement, how you're going to get out. So this is the whole purpose of why they consider bedrooms, and it's the square footage and the egress and being able to get out of a basement. And you just don't want to be trapped in a fire. So anyway, smoke alarms, great. I do recommend that you change them about every 10 years. That's just my recommendation. Nothing says you have to, but just a thought. Any thoughts on that, Jay? Or am I just ranting on too early in the video? Because this is a long video today, so I'm probably just ranting too early. All right. So let's get started.
I'm gonna start with this receptacle on this side, and I'm just gonna work my way around the room as I go to it. So this is the receptacle. This is a phone TV combo. I know if you look back on it, it kind of looks like a weird place. This is the location that they wanted it in. And when it comes to the plans and how we make our money, the plans are always king.
Yeah, I've never seen OSHA on a residential job site. Oh, so
like this is dangerous. But I live.
ooh, you're on top of that ladder, Jay.
Gonna put a staple in there because I don't want any loose wires in the ceiling.
Cable. You know, Jay.
And just like we did with the last circuit.
Jay, his posture today seems very relaxed. Like he's in part 7 now. You see when he was pulling that, usually, you know, you're aggressive, you're leaning over, you're pulling it through quick. He seems more relaxed today. He's like, oh, God, I'm at part 7. I'm just like, I just want to finish this house. I just want to be done. I hadn't even started the cut in yet. You know, I just want to get it done, you know. The hard part's not even done yet. I mean, he's like, you know, he just seems relaxed. He's chill.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's maybe the reason why he hasn't done any more videos is because the owner of the company found out he was doing them on the job. Probably like,
oh, that's true. That's true because well, it's just one video. You know, again, if he's promoting the electrical company, then they can look at that as a, you know, promotion. Maybe, you know, I could tell you that I probably wouldn't have a problem with it as long as it doesn't become habitual. Like I don't want him to, if he's working for me, I don't want him to become a YouTube star on my dime. But, you know, if he's doing a video and he's promoting the company, however, I probably would have said on the that, you know, because if you are promoting my company, keep it clean, that type of thing. But hey, it's all good. Remember, you got to go watch part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and part 6 to get the full flavor of what we're talking about here. Okay, let's go on a little bit.
We're just gonna make sure we get power to everything first, and then we're gonna pull the switch loads. And in this case, and then we're gonna pull the smoke detectors.
Hey, Adam, we're not judging him yet, bro. We're gonna be nice to him, you know. From somebody that's fell off a ladder before like that, don't do that. Get you a ladder. Get you a tall enough ladder, dude. Also, I'd move that spinner just a little bit closer to the room you're working in, just for me anyway. It's all good though.
Okay, so this is a single game box for a single pole switch that only has one light in the closet, but since it's just a single gang, we're still going to stay on the inside. For receptacles, it's not going to matter, but for this being a switch, it is. And my switch leg will always go in the second one.
So he's got his normal plan that he's following. He's consistent with it, so that's good.
Alright, still same. I'm going into the bottom of this box. I'm staying on the inside towards the stud. And receptacles, like I said, it doesn't matter which slot you go into. It just depends on how you want to staple it.
Of course, this is a good time, folks, to mention 210.50U A1. And you notice that space there, that's obviously 2 feet or more. So that's why he's got his receptacle right there. So I've had people before say, there's nothing, you're not going to put anything there. Why you have to be there? But the code requires it for spacing rules to be there. And, you know, and he doesn't know what the trim is. He's just measuring from the end of the studs to the other end of the studs. And he's got his 2 feet. Then you're on error on the side of caution, and you're going to put that receptacle right there. You know, and somebody says that'll never be used because in between 2 doorways like that, you know what? that's probably the only one, Jay, in the room you will use, because the others will probably be covered by furniture and whatnot. So that's probably the one that the vacuum will be plugged into, or the stick up, or the night light, or something, right?
Yep. Yeah, you'll use that more than you think.
Yeah. All right, we got an ad. We want to make sure we make some money for him there, because he needs it. There we go.
Okay, when I'm running wire across the trusses, and there's a bunch of trusses going around, and I'm allowed to scoot right across the trusses, I don't really staple too much because inspectors aren't really going to notice. But when I have a long run going...
Okay, so the code rules are, if you're running across the top of the truss, you're running across top of the ceiling joist, it doesn't matter. You still have to maintain and secure it every 4.5 feet for NMB. Okay, it's not an issue. Future inspectors out there, it's not an issue whether you'll, quote, notice it. It's the code. It's a minimum. It's there for a reason. Things move, people climb in attics, things like that. So again, still a rule. So Jay, have you ever said that? Well, I'll just do something and maybe the inspector won't notice.
I can't say I haven't done that,
Oh, ho! Bad answer.
Definitely not a good practice to have. You know, you think sometimes when you're fishing and stuff, okay, that's one thing. But when it's new construction and something like that, get up there. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll kind of already, well, this is kind of branch circuit, so not really home runs, but like with our home runs, we'll kind of put stackets in the path that we're going already to kind of, have it pre-set up. But for this situation, throw a couple staples up there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, here's the thing. If he's working for somebody and the owner happens to catch your video and he sees that he says that, he doesn't, as an owner, I'm like, dude, I'm paying you to do it compliant. I mean, that's what I'm paying you for. So, I get what he's saying, but nobody's going to see it. But you never had me as an inspector. Somebody like me walk in there with my stick. Yep. I'm banging around all of the cables that are running across the top to see if they're secured in place. That's me. So, there's a lot of guys that are out there like me who take their inspection job very seriously. Okay. And so again, it is not a comment he probably should be making, but we'll keep on going.
Long ways against the trusses, I have to make sure I have to put a staple every 4 foot because
4.5.
You're going to see that and immediately fail me for it.
Okay, so this is the thing. So before in a previous video, Jay, we said that 4 is okay because the maximum distance between supports and securement is 4.5 feet. But he just said that if he doesn't do it within 4, that the inspector fails him. So it implies that if he did it to code, which is 4.5 feet between securements, that the inspector would fail him. So I don't necessarily think that he means that, or wherever this jurisdiction he's at, maybe also, in all fairness, the electrical inspectors needs a little bit of remedial training if they're pushing that out. And again, jurisdictions can adopt things that are more stringent than what the code is, but in reality, code is the code. So, if you're going to be securing it and supporting it in accordance with 334.30, then it is, again, within 12 inches of a box like that 2 gang, you have your securement, and then you can go up to 4.5 feet. If it's a single gang box with just a knockout in it and not internal clamping or supporting at it, you're just poking the cable through a hole, then you're going to be forced to secure it within 8 inches. Okay. But if it is like a 2-gang or maybe one of the single gangs with an internal clamp that holds the cable, then you can go up to 12 inches, but then you go up to 4.5 feet. Now, can you do it every 4 feet, every 3 feet, every 2 feet? Absolutely. Okay. But you can't have the span go over 4.5 feet. So he is at least consistent. I don't know if that is in his area, right? I don't know if that's wherever he's at. The jurisdiction has said, no, we're going to do this every 4 feet. I don't know, because he makes a reference that he got rejected somewhere. So every 4 feet is fine. It's compliant, that type of thing.
So this is a 2-gang box, staying on the inside. And that way I know it's power.
A lot of extra cable there. Word for the wise, where he's stapling that at, just remember that the rules that are 300.4 still have to apply, so he needs to be, 1.25 inches away from the edge of the stud. Hey, interesting change, Jay, for the 2023. You know how it says that you have to maintain 1.25 inches from the edge? The way the code's going to read, and we always used to say, remember, and I used to have been preaching this for years, remember I said you have the back side of it, which could be actually, let's say, on an exterior wall. People say, well, it says the edge. Does it mean that side too? And I always used to tell people, yes, it's both sides of the stud. Well, that's the way it was intended. Well, in the 2023 code, they're clarifying it to make it no question, okay, that it's both sides, okay? Wow. So I guess there was enough people that questioned it, although I never questioned it. It makes total sense. But now that's what we do. So people ask, why do we change the code every 3 years? Well, we make amendments to it. We refine it. We make it better. We use it to clarify intent. Even though we knew what it was, there's an opportunity to make a code better. And you think that you catch it all, right, when you do something, but no. There's always somebody out there that can pick out the detail. And then 3 years later, we do it again. And we clean it up a little bit, okay? So it's just a constant living document. And it's why I enjoy working with the NFPA and working on committees. I do not like the ICC process. I don't like how they do their stuff. But when it comes to NFPA and these consensus documents, I like it. And so there's a reason we do it. And that's why I enjoy doing it. But a lot of people think it's all you just having fun. No, it's a commitment. And our companies have to buy into it because they're paying the bills. It can cost thousands of dollars for us to participate in this program, to update the code. Okay, so again, it's just not like we're doing it willy-nilly every 3 years. There's a reason why we do what we do. I hear you, Adam. Don't tick off your inspector. I'm just saying. It's like wrestling with a pig in mud. After a while, you realize they enjoy it. Okay? And I know that from experience. Just saying.
And my theory with running the wire, when an inspector comes in, if your work looks clean, it looks really nice, the inspector is going to let a lot of things go that he normally wouldn't. If your wire looks a lot junky in the attic, then he's going to make you come back and make sure every wire is stapled every 4 foot. But if all
right, so his observation is good, okay? And what he's basically saying is the neater it looks, the more pride you take into it. Let me translate for you what he really should say. The neater it looks, the more pride you show in your work, the less grief you're going to get from an electrical inspector. And there's a chance that he's going to not scrutinize it nearly as much. Now, that doesn't give you the reason to not do something in your mind. If you know that you're circumventing code, then that's wrong, right? But if you miss a little something here or there, the inspector's not likely to pay as close attention to it. But at the end of the day, if you also run it neat and nice and you build that rapport with the inspector or the inspection authority, whatever is there, then guess what? If they do find something, they're probably more apt to give you time to fix it while they're there. That way it doesn't slow your process. But if you're an a-hole and you're constantly just giving the inspector grief and just having a confrontation all the time, I can tell you right now, it don't work for me. I've had plenty of jobs where I go on there, I see the violations, I write them all out, a laundry list, and then I'm out. Okay, especially if I don't care much for you, right? That type of thing. I'm still there to do my job, but you know, everybody's got to work. There's no reason to have everybody being confrontational. How about you when you're inspectors?
Yeah, I take every inspector kind of. I kind of the approach I take with them is just I get a feel for them. You know, if it's someone I know, then obviously I probably dealt with them before and I've built a decent relationship with them, and or I know how to like uh, not really confront them, but talk to them in a professional manner.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's someone who's like maybe a substitute or someone new in the area, I just kind of tend to allow them to open up and get a read on them before I just start going and trying to pick fights with them. You know,
Right.
I definitely just kind of sit in the background and let them say their comments and what they have to do because they have a job to do, and I just try to work with them. So, for example, if they were to fail me and go, "Hey, this cable is not strapped within 4.5 feet. It's 6 feet on this run," I'd say, "Okay, hey, I'm gonna put up a staple real quick."
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna argue that, right? So there's certain things in here that even if the inspector was overreaching, you're gonna probably, if it's something that's overreaching, it's not too big of a deal. It's not gonna take very long to do it. You know he's wrong. Then you have to mentally determine whether or not you're gonna be this educator and create a stink, or you're gonna be like, dude, I am not that. I am just about getting this job done. Is that what you want? Got you. And you put it in and you move on. So you have to weigh that in the conversation. Now, for me, I always had, was a person that when somebody would reject something, if they ever did, that I would have to, we have to discuss it, right? As most people know, in jurisdictions, I ended up doing most of the education for the inspectors. So I would plant little things in a house. If I knew one was coming and I was going to be there, I'd tell my guys, leave that off. I want to see if he finds it. And then when he didn't, or if he didn't, then we would have a talk as he's leaving. I'd say, hey, you missed this over here, because I was always teaching him. I would not be the same if I was this guy, because he's obviously not going to teach the inspector, but don't poke the bear, right? Just, do what you can do, but don't make comments that you're going to let something go and he might not see it. That type of thing. I mean, I get, my brother would say, reality is what it is. And Paul, you live in a perfect world. It's not in the field all the time. I get it. But things like he's talking about, there's no excuse for that, right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. Okay. All right. Let's move on.
It looks nice and tight and smooth, and it looks like there's no problems with it. Then my theory is that he's going to let things go that he normally wouldn't.
There's going to be less scrutiny, obviously. Those spinners make it so much nicer, don't they? The cable just lays out nice, no curly curls. Always get a spinner, folks. Get a Lazy Susan. You can even buy Lazy Susans that you would use in your kitchen table, round, that you can set a reel on. You can buy those anywhere, okay? Just makes the job so much easier. Hey, I got a question, Jay. You got to ask yourself, the duct person, whoever ran the flex, I guess it was just they didn't have any duct tape on hand in order to go on and make those connections to the exhaust fans. So, you see them hanging everywhere. Somebody ran the flex but they didn't connect them. Now, you said you don't do that in yours. When I was in business, we always responsible for the exhaust fans, and we were always responsible for ducting it out. Even though, you would think that was the HVAC people or the, whatever, but we always did that. But I wonder who's going to come back, since it's obviously was ran. Who's going to come back and make those connections? I mean, somebody will. You wouldn't leave that hanging, but
Yeah, I'm not sure if he mounted the exhaust fans. They ran their lines, and then he mounted the electrician mounted them, and then they have to come back behind him and land them, or if he does it, I'm not sure. We there's sometimes projects that the exhaust fan isn't even up because HVAC guys haven't put it up yet. So we have to leave our, kind of like how they're doing with their flex. That's what we do with our cable. And then we just put a grommet on the end of it, and we just, hope that they land it into the box for us. Well, yeah, because we're not there, and so again, it doesn't take a rocket science to put the freaking half-inch grommet in the knockout. These guys are supposed to work together as a team with us, and when they don't, then we have to pop like a 6-inch hole on the trim and get it landed. And so hopefully these guys are working together, because it seems like this is a pretty large development, and if you're not working together, you're going to have issues, and it's going to be a lot of issues. And then you got who's paying for this, who's paying for that, whose job is this, whose job's that. So that's a good question. Who is going to come back and land these?
Yep.
And you want to stay with the corresponding holes to the slot in the box that you're going with. Like, I'm staying closest to the stud with these power wires. So like, I got 2 holes drilled here, and pretty much there's 2 switch legs in this room, and I know there's 2 powers going in here, so I'm gonna stay in this hole closest to, and that's just gonna make the stapling look a little nicer.
All right, Jay, so some people ask out there, so he's going through this top plate. I'm sure this, like everywhere else in the country, once he finishes, he's going to have to fill those holes. Now, I don't know if they do it or the insulator does it, whoever. So you have to maintain the rating of that assembly. So they're going to fill those top holes, whether it's in the the Great Stuff Pro, orange, or whatever, or rock wool or insulation jammed in there. Once you do that, now, as long as he puts 2 cables and no more than 2 cables through there, okay, then he's okay when it comes to not having to worry about anything. The moment that he puts a 3rd cable through that one hole, or 4th cable through that one hole, or whatever, then he starts having to worry about the issues in 334.80, which means he's going to have to do an adjustment for the number of current carrying conductors. And again, there's 2 per individual cable here. So it's white, so it looks like a 14-2. So that's 2 current carrying conductors. If 2 cable in there, it's 4 current carrying conductors, right? Well, if he puts 4 cables through there, that's 8 current carrying conductors. As long as you don't exceed 9 current carrying conductors through that hole, like, so that would be 4 14-2s or 4 12-2s. Even after you do adjustment and correction, obviously you can use the 90 ampacity value in 31016 for that, only for adjustment and correction purposes. You ultimately can't exceed the value of the 60-degree column, because that's what 334.80 tells you, right? And so for adjustment purposes, if you don't exceed more than 9 current carrying conductors and you're going to be using the 70%, you're doing that 70% reduction. For those that are following, it's 31015 BC. 31015C. And as long as you're dealing with that, then you're okay, as long as it's not more than 9 current carrying conductors. All right. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there, because people ask. Now, that's through the top plate. That is going to be insulated in the top plate. So this rule would kick in. Now, he's only going to put 2 through that hole. So he's okay. It's not anywhere close to being an issue for that point. Just figured I'd throw that out there, because people were ask about that all the time and that type of thing. Oh, another question people ask, Jay, is how many cables can you put in a hole? There's no code rule on that. The number of cables that you put in a hole are based on the point where, as long as you're not damaging the cable sheath, right? If you're not damaging the cable sheath, then you can put as many as you can fill through the hole. In the moment that you risk damaging the cable sheathing, that's the problem, right? But again, that's why you have other rules that you got to be aware of. Like, again, the number of current carrying conductors in there. You got to worry about 334.80. Again, when you have more than 2 cables, again, what you have these rules you have to be aware of. So as an electrician, you need to be aware of all of these rules. I'm just saying, as long as you don't exceed 9 current carrying conductors, that even after an adjustment calculation, you're still going to be okay. So a 14 is still going to be okay for 15 amp breaker, and a 12 still going to be good for 20. All right. The moment you get over that, then you got a problem, right? But you asked me before, if I'm running this through joists and they're not to be insulated, say mid-floor, then how many cables can I put through a bored hole? As many as you can fit without damaging the sheathing. The problem is, once they go through there, you got a bundling rule. Okay, if you're bundling more than 24 inches, then what happens at 24 inches, when you get to 24 inches or more, what happens is you got to make sure you separate these cables. Okay, so we covered that on another video, but at the end of the day, those are many things to think about when you're running these cables. But again, just wanted to kind of briefly touch on that and why he's actually going to put 2 cables through 1 hole, which is okay.
A little tight.
He said it's a little tight. If it's a little tight putting 2 14-2s through 1 hole, then he might want to think about going to a little bigger auger. Just saying.
Get in there.
Get in my belly.
Okay, so I'm looking up and I'm looking at my wire. You see that wire it's not touching the plate, so it's resting on that wood, so I don't have to have a staple to bring it off of it. Okay.
We do have a question from somebody over on the stream. They ask, how many cables can you put under a staple? Well, that depends on the staple. There are different size staples. There are long staples and short staples. Okay, so I would refer you back to the manufacturer or look at the packaging. The packaging will tell you on it how many 14-2s, how many 12s you can put under it. So follow that and follow the manufacturer. Again, always follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Again, 110.3b demands it if it's part of the listing, right? Okay, a great example of that, to understand listings real quick, since the question was asked, I continually get the question, Jay, about MC cable in anti-short bushings. They are not required for MC cable. If you want to use them, go for it. You can always go over and above, but as a manufacturer, even if we ship them with it to give them to you, that doesn't mean it's our opinion that you have to use them. We're doing it as a courtesy, okay? They cost money. If I had my way, we wouldn't ship any anti-shorts with MC cable, okay? But we do it as a courtesy to send them. You're not required. With AC cable, we're required to send 35 of them with every 250-foot coil. Okay, that's a rule. That's in UL 4. When it comes to MC cable, 1569, that's the UL standard, does not require us to send any of those. So in case you ever wanted to know, that is not part of the listing, right? Just so people know listing. So with staples, again, just follow the manufacturer's guidance on it. It's not how many you can cram in there. And the worst part is if you use the little short ones and you start trying to stack them on that, then what happens is it will bind into the sheathing and you got greater problems. So you don't want to do that at all. Now, I have seen the technique, then I've used it before, where I put a staple in the middle of the actual stud and I don't staple it all the way. It's just staple it down to where it's almost touching the wood. And then I use a tie wrap, and then I'll put my cables in the middle and I'll tie wrap them. And I'm actually tie wrapping it to that staple. Okay. I don't have a problem with that at all. It is one of the permitted securing methods. All right. So that's probably what I'd recommend. But at the end of the day, staples are fine, and you can get the long ones or you can get the short ones, either or. Okay. Remember, we're not trying to bind it into the wood here. We're just trying to hold it in the middle of the stud. That's all we're trying to do here. Okay. And again, good morning to everybody over on the live stream. Thank you for coming. We're streaming on 9 different platforms.
This room is going on with this.
small business owners.
All right.
Use Melio to send and receive ACH payments.
Use Melio to send payments. Okay, here we go.
So I'm going to.
That's a lot of scrap there. That's a little extra cable there. That's for splice. That's for his pigtails.
So I'm going to go into the bottom of this box.
And Jay, we've talked about this before. Everybody's different, but I like to strip off my sheathing before I put them in the box. Everybody's different. I don't like having to go into the box later with a knife or whatever and try to get off that sheathing and run the risk of nicking the insulation, because I've been on calls where that's happened. It caused arcing and it creates all kinds of problems in the box because people get to quickly whipping a knife in there. Everybody's different. Me, again, I have never had an issue pulling the cable up, marking it with my hand where it needs to be stripped, pulling it back down and then stripping it off and then pushing it all the way in the box. But everybody's different. This is how he does it. And this is how y'all do it, right? Y'all push them in, y'all push the cables in the box, do you? Or
it just depends on who's doing it. This isn't something that I get on the guys too much about. When they're first learning, we have NMB strippers that we use to 14.2 and the 12.2, and we teach them how to, use that properly before they put the sheathing in the box. That way, when you come back, you can just pull it off and yank it off. But other guys that are experienced, after a while, I let them kind of decide which way they're gonna install it.
yeah. So other questions asked: far away spacing. Again, maintaining 1.25 inches from either edge of the stud, but also when we're running parallel with framing members, whether you're running in a ceiling joist or running it, those type applications too, whether it's a board hole, 1.25 inches, whether it's running parallel up the stud, again, 1.25 inches, again, from the edge of the cable. Now, when it comes to the board hole, it's from the edge of the board hole to the edge of the stud. But when it comes to parallels and things like that, you want to maintain 1.25 inches from that. Okay. All right. But again, everybody's got their own way of doing it. So we're obviously not here to tell you how you cut in a box. And I've seen it done all different ways. Just, I don't teach this way for do it. So if it could also, I'll tell you, I would never have that much extra slack on mine when I strip it prior to putting it in. All right. I'm just saying, but to each his own. Okay. See, when it's that short a run, there's no need to have 2-foot tail on it. I mean, you know what I mean? It was only a 4-foot piece, 3-foot piece, but anyway.
Okay, in this situation, what I just said.
Real quick, for those that wonder why he's going over in these situations, because I would do the exact same thing, unless this was on a crawl or a basement where I could just pop straight down and then pop straight up on the other side of that window. But there is no need for him to try to drill around that corner, try to drill over that doorway, try to drill through those jack studs, all that stuff that's framing around the window. Too much drilling that you have to do. So it's so much easier to pop one up, come over, pop one down, and obviously that's what he's doing. Working smarter, not harder. How about that?
Isn't exactly going to make much sense, but I'm going to go into that next slot and I'm going to put a couple staples down right here just so I keep it with 2 wires in a box. I can put 3 wires that are power wires in this box because I will put up to 2 wires in the one slot, but instead of doing that, I want to keep 2 wires in this receptacle, so I'm going to go down to this right hole, staple down a couple times, and then go over.
So you might be doing that, Jake, because again, if you get 2, you're going to splice it with a pigtail. You get 3, it's just more splicing with pigtails, So he's just trying to, he's going to use a little more cable, but it's a little easier for him to trim out and all that kind of stuff rather than have to do 3 conductors and a pigtail from it, that type of thing.
Yeah, what's nice about what he's doing too is he has a system and he's being consistent with that system. He's not just installing with no purpose behind it. So whether or not it's how I would do it or how you would do it, it's how he does it. And It's his way. It's his system. He's passed a lot of inspections doing it. And the great thing is, if you ever get a guy like this and you watch them, you see their habits and you see what they do. And the good thing is, you go, hey man, maybe try this on your next one. And if they do it and it's quicker and faster, then they're more willing to just change because they see that quickness and fastness that we're trying to teach them. And then they're going to do that consistent as well. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to do it one or two times and go, oh, I'm done with this. So I like that he's consistent.
Absolutely.
So right down to the receptacle. I'm going to put a couple staples in here. You see how nice that looks? Power in, power out, and then power in, power out. And then I'll just put it, when I come back to staple, I'll just put one right here and one right here.
Remember the electrician golden rule, never leave it dead. Okay. Make sure you know where you're starting. Make sure you know where you're finished. You don't want to come back and realize when somebody says, I don't have power to this part of the bedroom or this part of the house, you're like, oops, I didn't complete the system. The beautiful thing about electrical, it always tries to work, even when people screw it up. But if you don't complete the loop, it ain't going to work. Right. So again, make sure you're when you start something, that is a problem sometimes if you have an electrician who's fairly new and he's got so much going on, he's getting so overwhelmed. Maybe you're the owner of the company and you just threw this guy into a house and now you're also bugging him all the time while he's doing it. And so his attention gets taken away. It's so easy if somebody were to call him right now because somebody's bugging him to walk away and do something and then come back and forget where he was at. And that's how you leave things unfed, right? So it can happen. So you have to stay focused, right? He's busy shooting a video with his girlfriend on this site, so they're not bugging him. You know, he's focused. Now with me, Jay, because of that corner and that window, all that opening, I would hopefully, because the other part of the room is probably being fed, I would hope that one right there on the wall on the right is a dead. I mean, that's a dead end. That stops there. Rather than have to go up and over and down, he's going to got more on this wall to the left. So hopefully he's going to tie those into that way. We'll see if he loops it and he's just going around that way. But just a guess. And I don't know, since he's actually going in through the top, tells me that he is going to loop it over to here. So it must not be something else on this wall that he's can continue the circuit. He's going to have to feed it from here. So we'll see. Yep. He's just looping it around.
Another switch. Like I said, we're staying on the inside. That way we don't have to mark every wire we put in the box.
Woo! I don't know if you need that much pigtail, bro. He's saving for the company picnic right there, buddy. What's a foot among friends, right? It's all good. Ooh. Just a little extra. Yeah, somebody says that it's easier to staple as you go. To be honest with you, I don't know that I agree with that. Because stapling now or stapling once, you know, usually when it comes to stapling, I staple as I'm cutting in. So I've got to come to that box anyway to cut it in. So I staple it then. The only difference is if I'm running across the top and I'm already up there, then I will staple those. But when it comes to cutting in, for me, I just found that I'm already there. So I'm just going to staple. I'm right now, I'm in the mode of, let me get this cable run. And if I have a helper, they can come back behind me and staple and things like that. But I don't know, to each his own. But for me, I just found it so much easier for me to do my stapling as I'm getting ready to cut in this box, that type of thing. Okay, so everybody's different in how you do that. So, what do you, Jay? Do y'all staple as you go, or do you get the cables in and then you worry about stapling as you getting ready to cut things in?
I think for the receptacles and switches, the boxes, it's a two-step process, right? We run our cable and then we go back and, like you say, you cut in. I think what you're referring to is stapling and making up.
Yep.
So that's a part process. Whereas in like maybe doing the luminaires or wafers where we have the J boxes in the ceiling as well, we will run the cable, make that up, staple it all at once, and then move on from light, fixture to fixture or luminaire to luminaire. So
I mean, you're already up on the ladder anyway, running it and pulling it. You might as well throw it. And he's done that before too. We saw him up on the ladder. He goes on and staples it while he's up there. Most part he does, except for the areas that he's trying to get to slide by the inspector so they don't see it. Other than that, he seems like he's following that same thing. To each his own, though. Again, and there's no perfect way to do it. Your time is your time. I mean, however you want to do it, you do it. I'm just telling you how I do it, for what it's worth. But there's different ways.
He leaves a little extra too, because if you notice, he'll probably, when he goes back to making the boxes up, he'll probably take some of that cable and pull it back out of the box to staple it nice and neat. So yeah,
make everything nice and square and everything looking good and neat. And so, yeah. So
that's what you're.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said in the last video, you want to go where you started off with. So I started up in the smoke, and that's my power in. And you want to go through, and you want to make sure that you have power in every box. Unless you're dealing with three-ways, we're gonna get into that, I'm sure, into a family room or a kitchen. But anyways, so power in, power out. And we're just looking at it. We're just making sure we get it right and not miss anything.
I do like that, Jay. It only takes a second for the electrician, whoever's in charge, to go back and check the apprentice, if they're working, their helper, if they're working, if you're doing the work. It only takes a second just to verify that everything's net. Again, what a nightmare that you left something not looped in the system. That is just not what you want as an electrician. Okay, once it's up, once it's gypsum, everything's up. It's a pain in the butt. So again, I like his approach. He's just taking a second to make sure he didn't leave anything hanging. And you'd be surprised how many times you do that and then go, oh crap, I forgot that one. Or oh, I got to get something over there. Better now than later, right?
Yep.
Came over here, and usually you can tell as long as you got two wires in a box.
Yep, gotta keep it clean.
As long as you got 2 wires in a box for every box, except for the very end, you're just gonna have that one. So we came out, came in here, went down, then we came up and over, we came up and over, and through, and then this is the end of the circuit. Okay, so I don't want to grab that 14.3 just yet. I want to go ahead and run all of the switch legs that we have that are in 14.2. So now we got this 14.2. Pull and slide.
Dude, bring that reel into this county.
Pause it right here. I'm gonna go put a switch leg to this can light. Enough extra so I can put it in there.
All right, so Jay, let me ask you a question. So you're there, you're on the ladder. Do you go on and make up? Do you make up that recess, or do you just save that for your later?
No, I think being up there on the ladder already, and since it's a one-step process to just staple and land, I would do that makeup right there.
In your case, you probably, in your recess, so not in this one, but you probably got Wagos already in there. They're probably already in there on the end of the conductor. So, and you're a Wago fan. People hate them, some people love them, but I mean, you're like, they're there, boom, boom, boom. There's people that cut those off, but you know what? They're a listed product. You know, at the end of the day, you know, plus you actually can get to that box at a later date. The inside guts will come down and you can get to the inside of that box if you needed to. But at the end of the day, you would go on and make it up while you're up there.
Yeah, I'd make that one up while I'm up there. Whereas in like the receptacle boxes, you know, you run the cable like he's doing, you go back to cut out, and you staple, you land them, you pull the sheathing off, you're making up your grounds, pig and any other. So it's kind of a, you know, even within that second process, you're still doing 3 things kind of at that certain box. So you need certain staples, you need certain pieces of material. Where that can light, you just knock out the hole for that cable, strip your sheathing, and land it to the Wagos and move on. So again, it's all situational, but you're on that ladder once. I don't want to get up there twice.
There you go. Remember, everybody's different. Everybody has their way of doing it. It's all good. Whatever works for you.
This is a switch leg, so this is going to go in the second slot. All right, I'm going to this other closet. Same thing as last time.
Now, I will say, Jay, there are occasions, for example, where he's just got an apron on that's probably holding staples. So he probably doesn't have wire nuts, wire binding devices in there. Obviously, if these have the Wagos in them, it's already done. So in all fairness, depending on the recess cans you're using, you might have to make splices and you're not. Now, with my pouch, I always had left side just full of staples and the right side full of wire nuts and things like that. It's because that was my trim apron. You know, so those type of things. But again, to each his own, and how he's doing it. He doesn't have a whole bunch of them anyway. And I can tell you this house is not very big. So, you know, it's not like it's going to be a total time killer. If you were doing houses like in the 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square foot, coming up with a good plan will help you, because I've been in houses where we put it as many as 50 and 60 recesses all through the house. So it can save you here and there, but again, just part of whatever your practices are.
All right, we have our power slots right here, and then this is my switch leg slot. gonna go back to this water closet, and usually it's done in 14.3, but in this house they have a bath fan and a 6-inch can that are separate, so we gotta run it in 14.2.
I hate remodels. I'm like you, Elwood. I love new homes. Nothing like drilling some fresh wood. I'm just saying.
All right, so coming into this bathroom, this is the doorway. So when I come into this doorway, I'm gonna want my first switch to be the light, and then I want my second switch to be the fan. So if you look right here, we have our powers right here. So this is gonna be my fan, and this is gonna be my light. And then that way I don't have to mark my wires to know which are which.
And that's his system. So, and that works if everybody's on the same page. If you got a bunch of people working, a helper, an apprentice, you know, again, you're a big fan of just writing on it with a Sharpie, those type of things. I'm a big fan of me and my brother, we're a big fan of putting notches or loops on our cable ends to tell us which is which. Okay, notches for power, one loop for certain. So different little signals that we put in it, so that when you're cutting it out, you can look at it and tell what it is. Whatever your system is, just go with it. I tell you today, you're right. It's just as easy to have a Sharpie in your pocket hanging on you. Just go right on it real quick, boom, boom, and just that way there's nobody's questioning it, you know. But at the end of the day, Jay, if he gets them backwards, is it a big deal? No, because once they're in the box, you can move switches where you need to move them. It's no big deal. Okay, that type of thing. You're the Sharpie guy, though, aren't you, Jay?
Yeah, I try to keep. I like his method though. If I was doing it myself, I would his method and just keep it simple and because I would know going back behind that you know that switch leg on that left side is when you first walk in is for the vanity. You know the other leg in the second box or the second portion of that box would be for the exhaust fan. So I actually stick to his method when I was roping. But when you have, like you said, when you have helpers behind you coming up and making up, I tend to just put, you know, vanity SL or VAN SL.
So the good thing about what he's doing, for those that are not capturing what we're talking about, is that he's coming all the knockouts for the first switch. He's staying far to the left in that box, and that signifies that cable coming in. That's what's going to the first light. Then the next one to the right from it is the fan that's further in. So he's putting them in the box as if the order they would be in the box. So again, that way when he's cutting it in, he looks in it and he knows that the first cable coming in on the left is the switch leg to the actual vanity. And then the one coming in to the right, and then he knows the one that's over by the stud is the power. So that's just his technique, and I like it. You know, absolutely nothing wrong. Now, the only time that starts going to crap is when you got 3 gangs and 4 gangs and crap's all over the place. But still would work out in the concept of orientation. So, you know, just his method. So it tells us he's done quite a few of these. He has his system down.
Starting with my light first. So that's going to go in this 3rd slot. And this one will go on my 2nd slot. This is for the fan. The fan should never be the first switch.
Never.
This is an iPhone 11 Pro from Back Market.
What is that, Jay?
I said you will lose your license if if you make that the first switch.
Yeah, if you ever make the fan the first switch, your license is revoked.
You're done.
You're done. Okay, so you can see what he's doing. So this one right here is the ceiling light. And we keep saying vanity, but he has a ceiling light. That's the first one you come into the room, right? And then this one right here is the fan, right? So this one in this portion of the box represents the first switch that you'll get when you come in the room. And then the second one is this one, and he keeps his power right here along the inside edge. Now he's done that consistent throughout the entire dwelling. So he does follow his consistency for that.
All right. Now the main bathroom part.
Was it?
No, just give me a view over here. Okay, so in the master bathroom, same as any other bathroom, your vanity light is always first. And if it has tub cans or a tub light, that'll be second. And then with your bath fan, it'll always be the last switch.
Dude, he does say that like it's gospel. He's like, dude. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I agree with the concept, but he's like, dude, it's always has to be that way. Okay.
Well, some basements the customers, since they're not small like this master bathroom. Some of them are just like a guest bath off the hallway.
Right.
You walk in and you just have the two switches. Maybe the first switch they tie in the vanity and the shower recess can. You know that, and then the second switch would be the exhaust fan. And a lot of times those are on the plans because, again, sometimes the CAD drawing or what the contractor gives to these guys are the minimum, and a lot of minimum is just tying all the lights together in a bathroom. Well, then that's when I come in. I say, hey, listen, just so you know, right now would be the time to where if you want to separate the vanity with the shower light, let's go ahead and do that now. And the benefit is, if someone comes in at midnight or 1 a.m. and they're, wanting to use the restroom, they flip on that first switch. You don't have a ton of light. You just have the soft vanity light.
They might have been playing Call of Duty until 3 a.m. or something, and they want to make sure that they don't get blinded by all this light. So maybe that is the time to make that decision, right?
Yep. And
cool.
And normally, they go with it, especially the females. They like that concept. The guys are like, who cares? They all just come on with her. So
yeah. Now there is a way around that. Obviously, if you did a 2-gang or something like that, and you want to have a separate, then you can use a tandem switch. You can do it, but again, that's kind of like a abnormal look to the room. It kind of stands out as, oops, this should have been a 3-gang. Instead, it's a 2-gang kind of thing. But maybe you don't have enough room in the cavity there to put a 3-gang, and you put 2-gang, and we don't want to put, typically we don't want to put two gangs on top of each other, because then that looks out of place, right? Especially if I only needed 3 switches. So just, I don't know, things to think about.
Yep.
Starting with my vanity, there's 2 vanities going in here, and these are going to be cut-in boxes for the trim out. So since there's 2 vanities, we want to run the switch light up and through. Alright, so camera keeps overheating. Keep having to restart.
All right, he was in a serious thought there about how to run his vanities, and obviously his camera overheated, and so he restarted it. So let's see.
Kill my day, son. Alright, anyway.
That, or he didn't like the path he was going down, and he's like, cut. So. Hey, what are the odds you think that the air conditioning units on that outside wall right down there somewhere, I mean, all those line sets running down?
Odds are pretty good.
Alright, this is the vanity light. Looks kind of
Or maybe they're just the water lines insulated or something. I don't know what That's a good time to point out that, and he might have 1.25 inches from that back side of the hole. I do notice his holes are itty bitty. When I bore holes, I'm boring the maximum size that allows me to go in that stud so that I don't have less than 1.25 inches on each edge of the actual bored hole. His look really small. So that's why he's struggling to pull it through, but maybe he just did it small right there. Yeah, I don't know. He's being careful because he don't want to drill through those pipes, or whatever that is there. But it seems like he always struggles through some of these holes. But point out that backside, the maintaining 1.25 inches is no different on the backside as it is on the front side that's facing you. Okay, so again, if this were to happen and be less than 1.25 inches, what would you do? Well, you take a nail plate, you knock down the points, you stick it on there, and you take your screwdriver and you try to use a crappy screwdriver, by the way, and try to bang it in there and get you a plate behind there, because you don't want somebody on the other side with the siding to pop through and into your cable. So again, many people think it doesn't apply to both ends or both sides of the framing member. It does. And to prove that, 2023 is going to even clarify it, which is basically just a clarification on what the intent was all along. Didn't change anything, it just clarified. So again, it created an argument for people who said, no, it only applies to the inside edge. Okay, no, same potential damage at both ends. So, so that's kind of another reason why we are always evolving the code, by the way.
Put a light staple in. And then just make sure it stays in there.
I'd probably give me a little more cable than that. He's been pretty generous everywhere else, but I'd probably give me a little bit more right there, because if he doesn't know where it's going. He's doing a big loop there, so he's obviously going to pull a little bit more.
So it's going to even this out a little bit. A little crank.
Now, Jay, we've talked about this before.
And that's going to be enough for both vanities.
We've talked about this before. Do you put the boxes in or just leave the wire in there like that? Personally, I'm just talking for me. Usually, I'm able to go to a drawing and find out where the vanity is. I can usually look and see where the stubbed end of the plumbing is pinned, because I like to get in last. Usually, I can find where I need to be, and I end up putting my there. Now, the good news is, some people will just put the cable in there and then they'll come and cut it in later, and then that's fine. There's some jurisdictions that say, nope, I want to see this terminated in a box. Again, to each his own. But again, if I had centering and I would look at a drawing, and if I know what the vanity is going to be, right? And I know what the width of this vanity is going to be, and if I've got that information, then I can measure off and measure up and put it. Now, if somebody deviates beyond that, it ain't on me, because I follow the drawings. I get it. Some people do it this way. It's fine. Now, if you say, no, you only can do it this way, I'm going to tell you you're full of crap, because I've wired enough homes that I did measure the vanity out, and I did put the lighting outlet boxes on the wall, in the wall, and it turned out fine based on my measure. Okay, so again, I know there's two ways to do it. I know you've done this, and you'll put them in there and come back and cut it in later. But if I know the width of that vanity and the plumbing's already running, I see the P-trap, the drain, the pipe, everything, and I can do my measurement, then I'm putting mine up there. Okay, sure. But everybody's their own way, so don't think that there's any right way or wrong way here. I will tell you that in this case, I would probably give myself a little more cable than this, because by the time you pull it into the boxes and got your 6 inches to make up everything, this seems pretty, and then get it, seems pretty tight, right? The other issue you run into some inspectors is that they'll say, well, if you're doing a cut-in box, then how are you securing the cable within a certain number of inches from the box? Because the board, horizontally, it's considered secure and supported. But vertically, as it's running up the framing members, it's not. You still have, the holes can't take the place of the requirement for securing within 12 inches, whatnot, let's say. Or if it's a single gang nail up, within 8 inches if there's no connector on the box. So a lot of inspectors will say, I can't verify that, right? So again, each inspector's different. They give different allowances. It is what it is. But I am more than sure that he can get the dimensions of what vanity's going in there, and he could put those boxes in. And if they're not perfect, then it's not on him. It's on whoever gave him the dimensions. But I get it. What are your thoughts?
I think if you put the box in, that's great. You know, less time spent on the trim. But if you're gonna put them in, I wouldn't just have it verified by myself. I'd have it verified also by the contractor or the owner of the of the house, whoever, you know, just so that we are on the same page and go, hey, if anything shifts or moves or it doesn't fit within the mirror footprint and I got to move it up, then just know it's going to be an extra or a change, you know, because this is kind of set in stone. Whereas in how we do it, we kind of do what he does here, except for we cut our loops. So I just don't do one solid. I kind of, you know, I would cut the cable at the first one, come up with another one. So I'd have two cables on that left side and then a single one on the right.
So
cut them in.
The other issue though, Jay, is this is Jay doing the install. Jay's probably going to do 3 or 4 other houses before Jay comes back to this house. So Jay's memory is not as good as it was when you first did it, right? Because you moved on to other things. So let me say, there's a lot going on in this wall. There's 4 different line sets or whatever that seems to be. That I can't even imagine those lines. Those must be just, those are just the water lines, right? They just insulate them because they're on the exterior wall. I don't know why I said line set. So I'm sure that's the hot and cold insulated on it. All I'm saying is, depending on where the luminaires go in there, and I've got to cut that after the fact, what do you do if one of those water lines is in the way? And you're cutting it later. So I'm not going to put a pancake box on the, and that's, to me, that's cheesy. I'm going to measure it out now in this. There's a lot going on this wall. There's from the vent to the water lines. I'm personally going to get an idea of measuring it out where I need to be. I know that I'm going to have 6-inch, I'm probably going to have a 1/2-inch sheetrock on the one side to the left. So I'm going to count for that 1/2 inch. I'm going to measure out, get my vanity information. I'm going to, I don't know. There's a lot going on in this wall. So
my recommendation or what we do here at Wired Up is we cut it in, but what we're going to do is we're going to do photos and maybe even a quick video and post that into the actual portfolio for that project. So whoever goes back and trims it before they do any cut-ins for like either vanities or pendants, there'll be existing photos from the guy who roughed it in. And usually we have the guy who roughed it in trim it as well. So they go back and they look at their photos and go, oh crap, man, there's 2 sets of water lines right here. Why don't, instead of the whole saw, maybe we just use a jab saw and go nice and neat, or whatever, right? There's way, you don't have to just go blow and go and take a whole saw and cut everything out. So just
screw
just
that.
A little.
Screw that, Basement King. I'm putting boxes in this thing. Okay, too much going on. Screw all that. I'm putting boxes in. I'm measuring it. I'm putting it in. Moving on.
Put it in.
Okay. I got a 3-gang box here.
Do you see this guy taking pictures? I don't see this guy taking pictures. Okay, he's already got this camera. He's got
video.
That's right. He's got a video of it, but I'm sure they don't do this on every house.
There's going to be 3 switches, unless you got a stack switch, but there's no sense putting a stack switch in because there's plenty enough room to add another game. But anyways, so this is our first switch, and I know there's 3 switches going in here. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. And our first switch that I want when I come into the bathroom is going to be my vanity, so it's going in here.
I would use all those knockouts, so I'd space it out a little bit.
And I don't have to mark it because of the position that it's in.
That's true. That's his method.
Alright, I'm not going to start in a hole with this one. I'm actually going to start where the can is over the tub. We got this crazy ass big shower with 2 cans. So, I'm going to start in this bay. I don't know what this is for. I think HVAC was thinking something stupid. Take my own advice with some slack.
Yeah, that vent's going to nothing in there unless he's trying to vent the recess can. So I don't know what that one. I think they just put it in and left it. But we did learn that the HVAC put in those ducts, so. Hey Jay, interesting question. Do your guys plug all your holes, or do you leave that for an insulator? Do y'all plug any of the top plates? Y'all bust through? Do y'all foam them, or do y'all let the insulator do it? Can't hear you.
Nope. Sorry, I was kind of eating while I was going. No, for the majority of the time we let the contractor do it. The only time we'll do it ourselves is if we're coming back to install a few more cables because maybe we left a couple behind, or maybe something happened and the guy already filled them up. The
Right.
foaming guy's been there to fill up the holes. Then the project manager of that job will say, "Hey man, just go pick up a bottle from Home Depot," or "Hey, there's an extra one under the stairs. See if it's there. If it's there, go ahead and feel free to use it. Just make sure you plug up your your holes, your draft stop, fire stop, whatever it is."
Right.
So
Yeah, so I tell you a funny thing that I used to do with my helper, Bobby. One of my helpers, Bobby, was a big boy. But we used to, when we do each home, we used to have a little contest. And when we got to the end and we were going to, that was kind of the end thing when we fill our holes. Okay. So we got to the end, we had the great stuff, professional. So we had the professional applicator and everything like that, which you have to keep clean. That sucker gets gunked up. It's no good. But we'd have it. So what we used to do is we would do a house, and if it's similar size, we'd have a little contest. And I'd give him, if he could beat my time, then he would get $100. So on one house, similar house, I would time myself and I'd do me. What would take me to to fill all the holes? So I'd be like, start, go. And he would start the timer. It's at the end of the job. And when we're done, and I'd go fill in every hole. Boom, 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 and then time. However long it took me, on the next home of equivalent size, it was his turn. And if he could beat my time and not miss, any, that type of thing, then if he beat my time, he would get $100. And on the next house of that equivalent size, if he could beat my time, so I'll set the benchmark on it. And then if he could beat it, it's just kind of a little game we used to play at the end, that type of thing. Keep it fresh, you know what I'm saying?
that'd be a free $100 for me, because I know it's. But
whatever. I've seen you move. All right, let's go. Ain't got nothing on these, Basement King. Got nothing on that.
And I don't have to run a switch leg from the switch box for every light. These two lights right here are on the same switch leg. So I'm just gonna put this one to this one, and I'm gonna connect them with this light. Whenever I go to cut in the lights, it's gonna be another video, but.
That's an exhausted recess can. Get out of my way. That's what they will do to your stuff too, by the way. But that one's, they don't need that. Somebody didn't know what they were doing there. That's the amazing vented recess can. Just saying. Although there are recess cans that are fans and all whatever that would be vented though, but maybe that's what they thought was going in there. I don't know. Look at that. Look at that. It's the rain shower head that's going in the ceiling, man.
These two wires will get connected whenever I go to plug them into that light.
All right, so somebody would say, does he need another staple on that piece that's running that span? Not if the distance between the first staple and this staple is 4.5 feet or less, right? Then that would be fine. So that staple can do the securing within 12 inches of the luminaire, but it also could serve the securing every 4.5 feet if it is within 4.5 feet of the other staples. So.
And now I want to do my fan.
Jalissa's in the house. He's already a slacker. See, she knows you very well. See, I've learned it in a short amount of time, but she knows you. See, so she just confirmed it. Happy birthday to Joe Bellatoni. Happy birthday, CMECP.
Did Joe?
Okay, now when I look at it, I'm going to plug this in with this open slot right here. And now that I see with the wires that I have in here, I know that these two right here are my power. I know this is my vanities, this is my tub light, and this is my fan. Without marking them, that's what I know.
There you go. Good method. It's a good method. Hello, Willie. Thanks for coming to the stream.
Okay.
About a foot of that's going to be cut off, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, so that's all the 14.2 on this circuit, and now we're going to move to the 14.3. I want to go ahead and do the rest of the switch legs that are left, which I only have one in this room, is going to be that fan light combo for the middle of the room.
Which we covered in a previous video of all the ceiling stuff, so go back and watch it. I don't remember which one. It might be episode 2. Make sure you go watch them all, okay? Go watch them. Go watch them. This is part 7. We got 6 other parts to go watch. All right, look, I'm not an HVAC guy, but I always find it interesting. You notice that HVAC is the trunk line and it taps off of it. In my house is way bigger than this house, but it has a central big, huge box and everything spiders off of this one big, huge box in my attic. So I don't know that that's as efficient because when it's blowing into it, it seems like a lot of space to have to fill up and whatever. The way this one is a trunk line and it drops off of it, probably way more efficient. I'm not an HVAC guy, so I wouldn't know, but it just seems like mine is just one big spider up in the attic. It's just one big box and all these legs coming off of it. Seems totally inefficient to me, but maybe I'm seeing it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not an HVAC guy. It was just an observation. I liked how this one looked as far as how it trunked and everything came off of it. I know you have to measure it right and size right because of the back pressures and all that, but at the end of the day, mine just seems like a big spider in the attic. Okay, I'm just saying. That's how I refer to my HVAC, Jay, the big spider in the attic. That's how I do it.
The spider in the attic. Yeah, no, these guys did really good. And before we go any further, thank you to my wife for dropping me off breakfast because I got up really early with Paul here to do this show. He's an hour ahead, so 8 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock his time. So he gets that extra hour of sleep. So thank you to the wife for dropping off food. Appreciate that. Keep us going. But yeah, the HVAC here, it seems like they know what they're doing. Again, these people that are doing these track homes, these developments with the
they've done them right
stuff before. Yeah, and like that one piece of ducting in that room in the bathroom where the light was like
miscommunication.
Yeah, or maybe they thought it was a light fan combo that you were talking about, in
Mm-hmm.
that little area. So maybe plan A called for a light fan combo on the scope of work, but maybe plan B didn't have it, and they thought that this house was a plan A style, right? Because you have different
Right.
types and different types of plans, meaning different installation pieces.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
easy mistake.
Yep. Plus, it might have been the helper that did it, because it's just the exhaust fans. He's like, hey, you go take care of the exhaust fans. I'm working on the duct. Maybe that's what it is. It's always easier to blame the helper. I'm just saying. All right.
This is the only switch light going into this box, so I'm going in slot 2.
Wow.
I'm gonna fold it just so I know it won't go nowhere.
It's a lot of cable, extra. In this house, he's got about 80 feet of extra cable with the extra foot every run he's got. But hey, I sell wiring cable, so hey, use it up, baby. Keep using it.
Just gonna leave some extra.
I will say extras add up, right? Because he cut off that tip right there. So
When we started this,
so this is one of those things where, you could have cut it a little bit more accurate. I get it. I'm nitpicking here, but on a job, if you think of all the extra feet here at every receptacle outlet or every switch outlet, every lighting outlet, I mean, at the end of the day, let me just say that it might add up to a 250-foot reel, which right now is going for what, Jay? What is a 250-foot reel of 14.2 selling for on the black market? I'm just saying.
About 110.
110, 120?
110, 120, yeah. I mean, if you're lucky.
Yeah, there you go. Or cheaper if you're me. I have access to a lot of it, but no discounts. Just saying. All right, we got an ad running here, so let's.
I started the circuit out of the smoke detector.
Small business owners, use Melio to send and
Okay, well, they're big on this Melio thing. All right.
receive an online bill pay.
That's in this room. So this is how I've done like every circuit, every house that we do. We put the home run to the closest smoke detector to the panel, and then we connect all of the smoke detectors that are in the house, and then that's going to travel your power, your neutral, and your ground. And the red for this instance for the smoke detectors is nothing but a signal wire for your smoke detector. Which what it does is when one smoke detector goes off, all of them go off. So that's why we use the 14.3. It's got that red wire as a signal wire.
The interconnect.
So you can start over there where the home run is, but I'm already over here in this room, so I'm just going to go room by room, CO to CO, and connect them all up together. So I can see my next one's over here. So I'm just going to start in this bay and work my way over.
I like what did Adam say? He had to call an Uber to get his 14.3 because the reel's probably in another county, just like he was with the 14.2. God, that's a lot. Oh, he'll pull that back, I'm sure. Hey, you may staple that 12.2 while you're up there. Just throw a staple in there, right? Remember, scared and support every 4.5 feet. Oh yeah, he's pulling it back. Okay. I'm starting to think like an owner now, and I'm going, dude, come on now. Save me some wire. Just saying. And see, he's up there. He's stapling while he's up. Okay. You said it on the ladder once. Up there. Stay up there. Get it stapled.
I like the length on the second one.
Yeah, a little bit better. I do have I wonder. We probably missed it, but if he said his home run was somewhere else and he's starting from the end, and that is a 14.2 in the box, then I think if I remember right, he's actually feeding this room from that. So that's the feed that's the part that's going down to the first receptacle or switch for that room. And so his home run is actually the smoke alarms and this, I guess this would be the bedroom. So, which again is not a violation. It's fine. One of the things that I used to do was use this, what I'd call a spare, is I would put the smoke alarms on the one circuit by itself, and then I would end it in a box in the attic so that there was a spare there, because I wasn't into running a bunch of spares. They're not paying me for it, but that would be one that is obviously pulling no loads really, and that's how I would do it. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with putting, and in some states, they want you to put the smoke alarms on a circuit like the kitchen lighting or something, so that when it's off, the lights aren't working, you know that also the smoke alarms aren't working. So again, in some areas of the country, they want that. Okay, not everywhere, but some areas they want that. So that type of thing. Colorado, they don't care, do they?
No. As far as the stapling goes, though, he's stapling each cable separately. He brings that first one in, he staples it, brings the second one in, he staples it. Back to our good buddy Seth, who isn't in the stream. When he's counting up his staples per that project, I'm wondering
staple counter, the staple counter guy, yeah.
At 2, or if he would count as 1, because if he counted as 1, this guy wouldn't make it. You'd have to bring more staples to the job. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he'd run out of staples quickly. I used to say staples are cheap until you go to a job site and see them laying all over the floor. And you're like, to the guys, you're like, you know what? As an owner, you start adding it up going, all right, how many staples are this? I'm just saying. So if we're going to be nitpicky about the number of staples, then we probably want to make sure that we're nitpicky on the amount of cable that he's cutting off at the end too. Again, you can't have it both ways, Grunberg. Yeah. If we're not worried about the slack he has or the mount that's sticking out of the box, then we probably shouldn't worry too much about his staples. But if we're going to worry about the staples, we should worry about how much he's got.
Yep, I think so. I think there could be an incentive on the less amount of waste that you could have. But I also think too,
it is being nitpicky though. We are being nitpicky though. So
we are, and I think with experience, you could go to your wireman and go, hey man, do you really need that much, cable at that box? Did you need to use this many? Did you need to use a stack it instead of a staple? Like, I think there's a certain point where, you get with a company where you go, okay, now we're hitting our goals and our marks. How do we even improve more on top of that? And where can we put bonuses in? Where can we get some extra money and save that you guys can do out in the field? And this would be an instance. But for guys that are just learning, it's better to have more cable than not enough. Yeah. It's better over staple than under staple. So I get it. And I get what you're saying. You're going to do one, do the other, but also make sure that you're talking to an experienced person about this. Because if you talk to a first-year apprentice 3 months into it, it's just going to blow his mind. He's going to say, "What? I'm just still learning single pole switches in 3 ways."
Yeah. And now you're trying to throw me. You're trying to throw me into material management and what I use on a job, and I'm just trying to, So yeah, I get it.
You okay?
Nobody yet has said anything about the shorts and the tennis shoes on this episode, so we're all good with that. And no protective eyewear or anything, so we haven't gotten any of those so far. Trust me, OSHA's not coming out to this single family dwelling, so we're all good. There's your example again, right? He's stapling each time each one.
Yeah, because again, if I'm trying to get quicker and faster, I would just use one staple. The amount of time for him to put one in and then a second one where you could just put them 2 under one. And again, most
provided that staple can handle 2, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And most of them usually can. The ones the size that we use, we get the sizes that can handle 2, right? So it's not even a question in our mind. But Just an instance where you could save time and a little bit of cost, but not a big deal. I'm
Yeah.
not stressing on that as an
Yeah,
owner.
and again, to each his own. That's how he does it, and that's perfectly fine. The key is that he is securing it, so that's the good part. That's the good part.
I do like how sometimes he's frustrated at moments, and he kind of looks at his girlfriend and kind of kicks that back to her, you know, like she's the reason why he's frustrated or something. It's like,
Yeah, that look.
video, bro. Like, it's not, you know, it's funny. Electricians are just we're just wired different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know we talked about this in hot boxing, but you need a smoke detector in every bedroom and outside of every bedroom within 10 feet.
Yeah. So in the standard NFPA 72 or and I remember, I think it's section 314 of the IRC, it's in the immediate vicinity of those bedrooms, outside of the bedroom. So in the bedrooms and then outside, but then in the immediate vicinity. Okay. And so you got to look at your layout, but again, it's one per floor and each bedroom, right? And or they refer to as sleeping area. So there, and so he's on the mark there with that. So he's just kind of reiterating what he's covered. And we did cover that in the video for the high boxing or the ceiling boxes. And I can't remember, Jay. I think that was episode 2. I'm not sure. That might have been episode 3. The first one was the planning. Second one was receptacle, outlets down low, and switches. And I think maybe the third one might have been high boxing or ceiling applications for luminaires, lighting outlet boxes and things. So I guess that's what it is. So
Now, I added a smoke detector into the office, and for me, in order for it to be considered a bedroom, as I recall, is it has to have a door on it and it has to have a closet in order to be considered a bedroom.
Right, not necessarily the case. You could pick a room and it'd be a bedroom and you put an armoire in it. A lot of times, again, when you're looking at it, it's when a room has a certain square footage, something like 70 square feet. If it has a bedroom, also has to have a means of egress. So there are other factors. Just putting a closet in there doesn't qualify as a bedroom, just saying. So again, work with your local AHJ, understand what's acceptable in your area or not for those type of things. Okay, for example, I am in a room here that I do my studio, which was previously a large den. This could be a bedroom. Okay, does not have a closet, granted, but it does have the windows and everything in it, but there is no smoke alarm in here, right? There's an out there on the floor, and it is out there, but it's not in here. You could conceivably have some inspector who says this would meet the size, square footage, egress, everything, that are going to treat it similar to a bedroom and require it. Again, just be aware of that wherever you're at.
But the company that I subcontract for doesn't want to take a chance in failing, so they add it anyways in every house. So any kind of study or office gets one anyways. So
it's not going to hurt.
Oh, and not to mention, you have to have a smoke detector at the bottom of a staircase also.
It's per floor. It's not really the staircase rule, but we get it. Well, just remind folks in the chat, remember, OSHA can require a lot of things, but we see what happened when they tried to require vaccinations on companies with over 100 employees. You saw how the Supreme Court shot that down. So OSHA can require many things, whether or not they're actually enforceable or different. And you have to be careful, because on a residential single family home, OSHA has no guidance here. So again, multifamilies, yes. Commercial aspect of multifamily, yes. Single family home. The question is whether or not OSHA has any rule to play in here, or any role. Okay. I'm just saying. There's an element of perception, and then there's an overstepping of a boundary, that type of thing. I can tell you right now, I am not wearing an N95 mask if I'm roughing in this house. First of all, I can't breathe with them anyway, so they can kiss my butt. Okay. OSHA's not coming on a single family dwellings job site. I'm just saying. That's just me. You do you. Jay, you do you. I do me.
Yep.
I'm not wearing no mask on. I can't. It's hard enough to breathe, and I'm not wearing it. Every town's different. Every county's different. Every state's different. Yeah. So I'm in Texas, bro. We don't do that stuff. Here's a question for you, Jake. Do you, I got to ask you, do you pull out your hammer to nail those in, or do you just take the same clines you just used to cut your cable? You take your clines and you just turn it on the edge and act like a hammer, just tapping in. Do you use your clines, or do you pull out your hammer every time? I just want to know what you do.
Yeah, to do staples, I'll pull out my hammer every time.
Do you? See, I was, for me, I would just I'd have my clines or my side cutters, and for a staple, I just boom, 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 staple, flat side or whatever it is. Make sure I don't do it on the pivot side, but boom, boom, boom. It just really quickly. That way I didn't have to carry the hammer around. Not that I wouldn't have it on the hip. That just was me. If I was cutting, I was already right there. Boom, boom, boom. Remember, I'm not trying to drive it home. I'm just trying to keep it in place. Everybody's different. People say, never do that to your clients. Dude, I'm a baller. I can buy another set if I need it, so don't worry. I'm okay.
Yeah. When you shop at Harbor Freight, you can.
Whatever. Next, moving on. Always got to have a Harbor Freight joke in there, man. Just saying. Let me just say, Jay, it's a less chance of driving that staple too far with the side cutters than it would be a big old hammer, 16 ounce, 20 ounce. I'm just saying, okay? Just saying. But I use my clines, so I'm a hack, just so you know. People say, Paul, you don't use a hammer? You're a hack. I know, I'm a hack. I get it. All the trolls out there, I'm a hack. Never wired a house in my life. I get it. Woo! Boy, she had a moment. Oh, she got pretty little pink nails. Got her out on the job. All right. Hey. So if Jalissa's out there filming you on the job, does she have the pink fingernails on, or she's got the working hands? What does she got the pretty long nails?
No, she's got the working hands, man. Not only is she a worker out in the field, then she comes home. She's a mom to a 15-year-old and a 2-year-old. You know, she does house cleaning. We try to share that load, but there's a lot of stuff that she does to where, you know, if she did have the long nails, they would end up breaking off anyway. So she just keeps it natural and it that way. So
she's a working mom.
She'll staple too. You know, I've had her staple.
And I know she's like me. She has side cutters. She doesn't pull out the hammer like you. All right, let's go.
Yeah. I could-
What are you still going on about?
I'm saying, like, with your clients, it probably takes you about 30 hits. I mean, you're gonna do
It's
it.
a
I know you're
staple,
gonna
bro. It's a
done.
staple. It's
I mean,
sharp.
with my hammer, I'm 1, 2.
You won,
Yeah.
and you won, and you pinched the cable. I get it. I understand. Thank God for arc fault. I'm just saying. I guess. Oh, I get it. He doesn't have a spinner for his 14-3. He's just gonna roll it out by hand. I get it. Okay. All right.
Okay, when you're dealing with vaulted ceilings and stuff, you want to make sure that you're keeping staples so it's sitting flat against the trusses, because when they come in here and they blow insulation in the trim out, in case somebody has to come up here, you don't want to make sure that you're creating some kind of trip hazard. So if I was to just pull it tight, this will stick off the trusses, so I'm just going to put a staple right here so it's not a trip hazard for later.
I don't know anything about that. Whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're climbing through there anyway and it's insulated, you shouldn't be dragging your feet down next to the studs anyway. You should be high stepping. So anyway, whatever. But at least he's securing it. So we'll go with that. One thing we will remind you here is that be very conscious of any attic access or scuttle holes or whatnot you've got going up there, because that is important where you maintain the spacing around those. So you want to be very careful with that as you're moving through. I think 334.20, which ultimately sends you to 320.20, which ultimately is the same as it was 330.20. I believe that's it, but whatever. It's all about the spacing around that access, so you keep those cables away, all those type of things, so are protected with protection strips or whatnot. So if you're doing that and you're routing, just make sure you know where you're routing, that type of thing. So clarification, 334.23, by the way. So 23 for all of you guys that say, oh, Paul said .20. 334.23 for the attic aspect of it. And then that ultimately 330.24 is for NMB. 330.23 is for attic access for NMB, which ultimately sends you back to 320. And obviously 320, which again meant we didn't want to cut and paste it in 330 and 334. So we're just sending it back to 320, which is AC cable. Same concept, 320.23. So section 23 has to do with that attic space and all that spacing and all. So, at the end of the day, just think about your routing. And I knew that .20 didn't sound right, so that's why I looked it up. But just be aware of it. Be conscious of it. right? And I'm out of coffee, by the way, Jay. So this episode is totally tanked my coffee. So yeah, Joe says, "Where's this high vis vest?" You know, he couldn't resist. So he's not wearing his high visibility gear as well. So and you know, we haven't gotten those questions today, Jay. Unless I brought it up earlier. I said nobody's saying anything about his goggles. Nobody's saying anything about a hard hat, which usually they do. They go, "He's got to have a hard hat," whatever. Nobody's saying anything about his tennis shoes. Nobody's saying anything about his shorts. You know. So I guess here we are at part 7. Everybody's kind of mellowed out on that this guy is going to do him. And there's no sense in pointing out the obvious. He's doing him. First of all, I would not wear a hard hat. Second, I wore boots just because of the boots. And my guys and me always had to look the part. So we wore either blue jeans or I always wore khakis. And then I wore a company shirt. He did say he subcontracts, so he's acting as a subcontractor for the company he's working for. So it is his image. So again, but just nobody's pointed those things out again, and that's good. Maybe we've moved past those things in his install. So, but I know your guys, y'all all have color coordinated stuff, right? Shirts and color coordinated.
Yeah. So last purchase we did on shirts, we did the black style shirts or color for the crew leads. It's like a greenish color for the apprentices, and then the PMs had red or blue. And so we were color coding, but then again, you give them 5 shirts and they guys forget to wash them or whatever, so they show up in their regular shirts, which doesn't bother me. I think even this year we're going to pull back on the shirts, and because again, most guys wear their own shirts anyways, and so
oh man, wow, dude, going away from the look. Okay, I'm not gonna comment on that. I'm not gonna comment. You're cutting corners and everything, trying to streamline. Now you're cutting budgets, so now you're cutting the shirts out, and wow. Okay, I'm just saying.
Joe says Sea green. We had green in the beginning. We actually had the Seahawk green. All my colors for my company are blue and green, actually. But the shirts that we gave them this year, we're always changing the color scheme on them. But yeah, we did a color scheme where it was the crew leads had a certain color and the apprentices had a different color.
And what coffee am I drinking, Jay? What coffee? I'm drinking. Mine is Dunkin' Donuts K-Cups in my Keurig latte machine, which is the best thing ever. Latte machine. I mean, it's not really a latte. It's a fake latte, but it does create the froth and all because I'm kind of, I'm uppity like that now. So I like to make my fancy little lattes. No longer, I don't do black coffee, whatever like that. So again, it's the little K-Cups I use are the Dunkin' Donut K-Cups. What are you drinking?
I think I'm having it's a Starbucks
Starbucks Frappuccino.
No, it's like just coffee grounds, like the breakfast or vanilla or whatever.
Breakfast blend.
Yeah, the breakfast blend. I'll get a big thing of the breakfast blend, and then I'll get the small little sizes of like caramel or like the Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, whatever one. And I'll just depending on what day it is, I'll mix it up. But I go with the traditional 12 cup pot. Just to fill it up, put the little filter in.
I'm a one shot.
Yeah, you probably save a lot of actual water on that because there's times where I waste half a pot if no one else is drinking it. But again, I went back to the traditional style, just try to cut costs.
So everybody out there, he's going to be cutting the guy's shirts out, but he's going to be wasting the budget on coffee that he just pours down the drain. Okay. I'm just saying, all these little things add up, and we're learning more about the Basement King every day. I'm just saying. He's tightwad here, but then not so frugal here. We're learning more than, okay. Anyway. Learning how the inner workings of the Basement King. All right.
Okay, so that's pulling that whole circuit right there for the master bedroom, and I want to go through it just in case I missed something. I want you to understand exactly what it is. And you should do this with every time you pull a circuit. You should go through and make sure everything is correct, because even if your boss walks all your houses for you, he might be an idiot, or he might not see.
All right, Jay. So you're the boss. Your guys on video says, even though your boss might walk the house and he's maybe an idiot. Wow. Okay. I understand. That's a video. I get it. However, maybe this is why we haven't seen any more videos in a year. The boss is contracting you to do that. You're subbing it. You're working. Did you just say, hey, maybe your boss is an idiot? He's already dissed the electrical inspector. He's now calling his boss or aide the boss an idiot. Okay, so here we are at 7. You like his work?
Camera girl. He's getting mad at the camera girls if she's the reason why he's hitting his head on studs or hitting his finger. He's getting mad at her for certain things. And
so I'm going to say you like his work and the work he does, but I'm just going to ask now, as we've moved through these parts, is he wired up material right now, or do you think that this could be a problem that you would have to deal with at some point? What do you think at this point? I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But do you see signs of a potential attitude? I'm just asking.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles with these guys. I think if I was doing basements and I had him in basements, I probably wouldn't have him in homes that there's going to be residents on site and potential, communication with these people directly head on. But in this situation where he's doing these homes and there's 100 homes and he's really skilled in them, and I like him. I'd put him in that all day.
Okay, cool, good. Just always like to bring it up because we have owners that watch. And we have electricians, and I like to make sure that we cover every perspective. So I like to call out the obvious so that you can get your opinion on it, because you know what? You are owner of a company, growing company, you have employees, and it's just nice to see what you're thinking about as somebody is openly, publicly putting things out there, and how you would react if you were the owner, that type of thing. And in all fairness, the owner might be an idiot. So again, I don't know. So, so in all fairness, let's see.
Everything, there's a lot going on with electrical in every single house. So you want to go through and you want to make sure you got everything, because you don't want it to fall back on you whenever it goes in the trim out, because your name's going to be on that house, and you want to make sure it's correct before you walk away. So when we started with this circuit for the master bedroom, I pulled my home run. And if you remember back from the home runs, we pulled to the closest smoke detector, which was right here. That's a piece of 14.2 as a home run into that smoke detector. And then I came out of it with a 14.3 with that red wire being a signal wire for all smokes. And then it's carrying the power, the neutral, and the ground for your circuit in your master bedroom. So we came here as your home run, we came out 14.3, and then we came out again, and we hit this one, and then we came out of this one, and hit this smoke CO. And then we came out of this smoke CO, and then we hit this regular smoke.
Maybe I'm having a Sunday morning brain fart. What is this? What's the CO?
Oh, the carbon smoke.
No, that. You don't need a carbon smoke alarm in every room. Okay, so it's usually one. So
into though, when he says CO, I think he's talking about carbon smoke. That's what we would call. We'd say, okay, but a CO smoke here, carbon smoke.
So he calls them smoke detectors, but then he says going into the CO. So, he doesn't say they're carbon monoxide smoke alarms or something. So when I hear CO, I'm thinking
change order.
We have a change order here. Everywhere's a change order. That's what I'm talking about. All right.
I mean, obviously it's not, but I think he's referring to the carbon smokes combo.
Okay. So he must have fossil fuels as the fuel source in this building. Okay.
Came out of this regular smoke and we hit this last smoke right here. This is where the red wire
is. That a smoke or is that a CO? I don't know.
Run area to the one in the master bedroom, and that's just a signal wire. So now what we came out of here with was the black, the white, and the ground to the first place in your bedroom. This is the beginning of the circuit. So we jumped out of this receptacle, hit this one, came up to the switch, went to the receptacle, came out of there, went to the water closet. From the water closet, we went to the master bathroom, and then we hit these receptacles, and the switch, and the receptacles to the switches, and that was it. And then you want to go back and you want to make sure you got all your switch legs in. I got my fan light, which is a 14.3. The red's going to be the light, the black's going to be the fan. Right here, I came out with a switch leg for this closet light. This is just a regular can light.
I'm actually backwards on that. I usually will do the fan, the red, and the light, the black, because it's traditional. So but it doesn't matter, but that's what I would do. Just say. Is that what you do?
Yeah, the black is the light and the red's the fan. And a lot of them nowadays have the remotes to them. So and if they have the receiver up there, then they don't have really a part for the red to tie into, because it's just a 120 coming in, and then they control the, the light and the fan from the remote. So then we would just cap off the red.
Okay.
Now black's just going to be for the light, and then you got the neutral and the ground. Same thing right here for this closet. Sticking in this second slot is your switch leg for this closet light. Now we got two different items in this water closet. A lot of times you have a fan light combo, but for this situation we got a can and a fan. So we got two switch legs running up for that. Like we talked about before, switch sequence. You want to make sure you got them in the right slot. And if you don't, then you're just going to have to mark every wire. And if you're new, I suggest you mark every wire anyways. I mean, the power wire is pretty obvious. Keep them on the inside.
So that is about 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about 5 or 6 feet of extra cable he's going to cut off all those. I'm just saying. Multiply. That's just at one box. Multiply that. I know I'm being petty, but so the point is, if I strip it and put it in first, then I know how much I'm putting in, and then I can control the length on it. And if you're just sticking it all in there, I get it. But I'm just saying, I'm being an owner now. I'm just being anal in how I ran my cables. And it didn't take me a lot more time to be very precise with the amount of cable I used. Again, at the price today, but again, that's being nitpicky. I get it.
Well, especially when you get into 3-ways, even I mark those wires. So coming right here, this is your master bathroom. This first leg right here is going to be for 2 vanities above these 2 sinks. The second switch right here is going to be for these 2 cans, and then this third switch leg is going to be for this bath fan. And that's it.
All right, and that's it. As he said, that's it. All right, so it was a good episode, a longer one today, this morning. But again, we've knocked out the master bedroom, we knocked out some baths, and we knocked out the smoke alarm circuit. So he's knocked all that out. Done. We will remind you that if you have not watched part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, or part 6, go back and watch it. They're really good videos, and we give a lot of additional commentary that may help you. May save you time, may save you money, make you more efficient, may make you think of things again. But that's the whole concept of this series, is to not to talk the guy down. He's doing a great job. But it is an opportunity for us to have conversations about everyday things, like not just the electrician, but like when I asked Jay as an owner, how you would address employee. And I get it. He's with his girlfriend and he's videotaping. So again, he is going to get a certain amount of a free pass on that. But we also have to remember, and we'll shift gears 1 second away from electrical and how to run it. But we also remember that anything that you put out there on the internet is public and it represents your company. So I will just say this now, be careful what you post because it stays out there. And if you're one small person, that's one thing. Okay, that video right there has 43,000 views in a year. So that's nothing to shake a stick at. So remember, what you put out on a video influences other people. And if you propagate improper information or falsehoods or misinformation or hate, then all it does is multiply. And so that's the reason we do these. Not to say we're perfect. We're giving our opinions, commentary, but we do try to give some insight into it. So Jay, with that, is there anything you want to talk out there as we're closing, feedback or your overall view of this episode, and anything that you would think about from an owner's perspective that you would say or anything?
I think he did, all in all, he did pretty good as far as the actual install, running all his jumpers out. The only difference, it's there's a million ways to skin a cat. So just because he does it that way doesn't mean that is the right way. He has a lot of personal opinions on how he installs it. But for the most part, they were all pretty good. I think for myself, that we usually separate the receptacles from the lighting. That's just something kind of that we do. Again, it's a different style of running stuff, but we usually do that. And in basements, the receptacles are required to be GFCI where the lighting isn't, so it kind of keeps those separate. Whereas in this is a single family dwelling, so everything's on an arc fault in those areas. So he's probably good there. But no, everything, all in all, he did pretty good. I'd give him about an 8 out of 10 on it. Other than not wearing pants or steel toe boots or composite boots, try to keep that look up, because you don't injure yourself on a job. The way he's running pretty quick with that ladder, you could trip, fall, you could snag your leg on a staple or a screw that's hanging out, maybe a nail. You just want to protect yourself too, and you have that right as an employee to protect yourself. So just be smart.
Absolutely. And we will cover again, this is part 7, so we have covered the low-hanging fruit. So if you're new to this series, we have covered the fact that he is wearing tennis shoes, that he is wearing shorts, that he is calling the cable a wire from time to time. We have covered all those things. We know that he calls smoke alarms, smoke detectors again. So again, we've kind of gotten to part 7 now. So we've covered all those nuances that we've kind of picked up on. So again, make sure that you go back and you most certainly start watching from episode 1. Share the love. Let people know about it. Make sure you thumbs up if you like the series, because we'll be doing many more series on commentary. So if you're out there, you know who you are. If you're out there on the internet and you're posting videos, we're not here to say bad things, but we are here to use them for commentary to make you and everybody else a better electrician. That's what it's all about, because it's so much easier to be a Monday morning quarterback and give insight on it. We get that. So with that I believe that's going to be it for today's episode. So hopefully you got something out of it. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. And for Jay, all the way out in Colorado, everybody take care. We'll see you on the next episode, which is number 8. And that is dealing with a family room. So we will pick it up there in the next episode. Take care. You've been listening to Electrify with your hosts Paul Abernathy and Jay the Basement King Grunberg.